Through 10 events, Rich Froning, a 37-point lead on 2008 CrossFit Games champion Jason Khalipa. Let's go down to the competition floor. That's where Rory McKernan is.
Rich is lining up in the tunnel, all the athletes preparing for this final event. And guys, let's talk about why Rich is such a good champion. Beyond his athletic capabilities, he's always aware of where his competition is in every single workout with Troyan staring down on legless. And you see him do it in workouts time and time again, like the clean and jerk ladder. He does the same thing in the overall leaderboard. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and that's keep up or beat Jason Khalipa. Sean, back to you.
Rich Froning getting focused. He is 2 events away from being crowned the fittest man on earth for the 3rd time. He has made a charge up the leaderboard. We'll find out if he can stay at the top when we come back. Welcome back to the StubHub Center in Carson, California. I'm Sean Wooden alongside Bill Grundler. We're set for the final 2 events for the men. And Bill, these back-to-back events, the Cinco 1 and the Cinco 2, proven very difficult for all these athletes so far.
You know, that's absolutely true, but with the people we have on the line right now, it's going to be insane.
On your feet, in lane 10, in 10th place from Dunwoody, Georgia, C.A. Anderson.
Rich Froning trying to put the finishing touches on his 3rd straight CrossFit Games championship. He will work in the middle of the floor. Jason Khalipa and Garrett Fisher, the 2 men trying to chase him down, will be right next to him and build back-to-back events, and we start with the Cinco 1.
Cinco 1 and Cinco 2. We're going to start off with 3 rounds of a 5-rep deadlift, 405 pounds. That's an incredible amount of weight. Followed by 5 single-leg squats. We call them pistols. 53 pounds holding on to that. Then they have to do an 80-foot handstand walk. They get a minute rest after a 7-minute time cap, taking them into the Cinco 2. 3 rounds of 5 muscle-ups, 5 deficit handstand push-ups, and then they have to go back across the stadium 90 feet, overhead walking lunge, 165-pound axle bar. Another 7-minute time cap.
Rich Froning, if he scores 164 points, there's nothing anybody can do to catch him, and he will be the champ once again. The 3rd and final heat of the 12th and final event of the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games underway. Back-to-back events. The Cinco 1 worth 100 points. The Cinco 2 worth 100 points as well.
What you'll see with these guys is how they're going to attack the deadlift. Almost all of these guys are extremely strong athletes, have well over 500-pound deadlifts, going through those deadlifts unbroken. You'll see a couple of them every once in a while will go singles, but this movement right here, we've never seen a weighted pistol in the CrossFit Games ever. We've seen pistols, but now these guys are actually holding on to a 53-pound kettlebell and having to go down into that single-leg squat.
Right now in lane 2, it's Marcus Hendren with 1 more 1-legged squat to go. He is currently in the lead, and Hendren is done, and he will start on round 2. Marcus Hendren out of the Central East region. They sent 5 men from that region to the CrossFit Games. 4 of them are here in the final heat.
You know, and he just slipped in. He was 5th coming out of that region. That's kind of a tough place to be because you're thinking, like, should I really have gotten in here? Well, I'll tell you what, he's had an unbelievable CrossFit Games, and he's showing right now to this crowd that he definitely deserves to be here and wants to put a mark on his name and say, guess what, I'm here to stay.
Rich Froning, Garrett Fisher, Marcus Hendren, Z.A. Anderson, all battling for the top spot as it's back and forth here in the Cinco 1. The time to beat belongs to Lucas Parker out of Canada West, 429.9.
Now you see these guys holding on to the kettlebells out in front. That's called basically a goblet squat. Most people do it with 2 legs. These guys have to do it with 1. But right there, Scott Panchik actually decides to hold it off to the side. Again, it's a balance and a comfort level. What works best for them? So you're going to see varying positions with that kettlebell.
Rich Froning currently in the lead. He's through 8 repetitions on his 2nd round of 1-legged squats. Now here comes Ben Smith pushing him for the lead. And now Froning onto his 3rd round of deadlift at 405 pounds. Jason Khalipa, meanwhile, on the right is struggling. He's been getting no rep. Couple reasons why that can happen.
That's right. Either one, you don't get below parallel of that hip crease, but what happens with Jason is his front foot keeps dropping and hitting the ground. So it looked like he was actually starting to get fatigued a little bit. He should maybe rest in just a touch so he doesn't have those no reps. That's a lot of wasted energy.
Rich Froning finishing up his 3rd and final round of deadlifts. Now it's on to 1 final round of 1-legged squats. Froning battling the man on your right, Ben Smith, for the lead in this heat. Ben Smith is 4th overall. He's just 5 points back of rookie Garrett Fisher for the final spot on the podium.
These two are, Garrett Fisher and Ben Smith are 2 young athletes, but Ben Smith has been here so many more times. Garrett Fisher is he's a newcomer, brand new. Ben Smith knows exactly how to compose himself right here. He knows what it feels like to be in that final heat. He's been on the podium before. He really wants to go from 4th to 3rd and get himself back up on the podium for this year.
Froning through 6, Ben Smith right behind him, trying to keep pace with a 2-time defending champion. No rep for Rich Froning on the left there.
That's
as his left foot hit the ground.
That's the last thing you want to have when you're this close on an event. Ben Smith looks so solid on those pistols.
And now it's Ben Smith. First done with his 3 rounds of deadlifts and pistols, and Smith right up into the handstand walk as he has to traverse that 80 feet, and Rich Froning is right next to him.
Rich Froning, last time they had a handstand walk for distance, was the champion in that skill event, so Ben Smith needs to stay up there. He can't afford to come down, especially with the champ on his tail.
Smith showing no signs of slowing down, but here comes Rich Froning. who can win this event if he keeps this pace, and he is going to crush the time to beat. Rich Froning, unbroken, and across the finish line.
Wow.
Start shining the gold medal for Rich Froning.
I'll tell you what, that guy is unbelievable. You can't throw anything at this kid that he can't do.
Ben Smith is in. Rich Froning now working his way back down the floor to cheer on his fellow competitors. Now Scott Panchik across the finish line. Ben Smith will finish second overall in this event and collect 95 points. Scott Panchik finishes third with a time of 425.5. He will get 90 points. So Ben Smith can move into the top 3 here, depending on what Garrett Fisher does. And it's looking like Smith will overtake Garrett Fisher for the 3rd spot on the podium.
Garrett Fisher is starting to fall behind on those handstands. Obviously, it's a skill. Ben is extremely good at those kind of movements. Maybe Fisher doesn't quite have this skill. He's really having a hard time here. He can feel that 3rd place starting to slip away. As these other athletes are passing him up, that bodes much better for Ben Smith. He's going to have a much higher point total and allow him onto that podium.
Jason Khalipa, who came in 2nd place overall, just finished up. He will now finish 6th overall in this event with a time of 5:04.2. That is Marcus Hendren. He's across the finish line, so Hendren clocking a time of 5:17.9. That'll be good for 7th place in this event. And now Garrett Fisher falling further back as he walks his way down on his hands the last few feet of that 80-foot mat. Dan Bailey just finished, 5:29.2 for him. Fisher a couple more inches to go, and Garrett Fisher, the man who trains with Jason Khalipa on a regular basis, with a time of 5:40.2. He will finish in 11th and pick up 65 points. So Ben Smith will now sit in 3rd place overall. But the winner, and the man who's setting himself up for another nice payday here in Carson, California, Rich Froning.
So these guys had that 7-minute time cap that's still just about to finish, and then they'll have 1 minute to rest. Now, I saw some of those athletes actually starting to do some handstand push-ups. They want to set those blocks for them so that when it's their turn to get up there, they're ready to go. They don't want to have to do it on the fly. 2
of the bigger athletes in the field still on the floor. That's Chad McKay. McKay is 6 feet, 225 pounds. He's out of Sydney, Australia. Then at the other end of the floor, it's Z.A. Anderson from Chamblee, Georgia. He's 6'1", 215. This is a movement that bigger guys just do not like to see very much. Chad McKay trying to get in inside the 7-minute time cap. We have about 15 seconds to go before that happens. There's a 1-second penalty for every rep you do not complete. The handstand walk counts for 1. Crossing the finish line counts for 1. Meanwhile, Josh Bridges got left in the dust as he was still deadlifting. So Bridges, a man many thought could push for the top of the podium, will fall way back in the standings.
He definitely didn't want to have that happen, but here's a guy who has 425 pounds, and that's almost his 1-rep max.
We saw this last year. Rich Froning just had to avoid a disaster in 2012 to win, and then he came out and won a couple of the final events. He became the champ.
He didn't have any problem here. I tell you what, he's like a cobra. He's smooth, but when he needs to strike, the guy strikes. And look at that, an unbroken handstand walk, and definitely showed exactly what that champ has.
Froning gets the win. 100 points in the standings. Ben Smith finishes 2nd and now sits in 3rd place overall. Jason Khalipa finishes in 4th. Khalipa still in 2nd place. This sold-out crowd at the StubHub Center, watching the final heat of the final event for the men. This is the Cinco 2.
That's right. They got 3 rounds of 5 muscle-ups, 5 very deep deficit handstand push-ups, and then they're going to take that bar 165 pounds, hold it up overhead, and have to do lunges all the way back across the stadium floor. This is going to do some serious damage to those that have any sort of shoulder issues over the course of this competition. This is shoulder demanding.
Rich Froning going through his deficit handstand push-ups. Josh Bridges in lane 8, who had a disappointing finish in the Cinco 1.
You know he's
flying through his first set of deficit handstand push-ups.
He knows he needs to make up for what just happened. Again, that last event was really, really difficult for him. He's the smallest athlete out here. That weight was heavy, but now he needs to make these work in his favor. He's chasing this man right here. And again, Rich Froning, 195 pounds. I mean, he's not a small guy, but he's just so strong, so efficient in his movements. You just can't throw anything at this kid. Right there, Josh. Look, he looks good on those handstand push-ups. And when you get him to those rings, that's where he's really going to be efficient.
Bridges with one more to go, and he'll hop back on those rings. But meanwhile, Rich Froning is closing the gap with Josh Bridges. Rich Froning just needs to avoid a total disaster here. And it looks like he's challenging for the lead. Josh Bridges back on the rings, and Rich Froning is right behind him.
The true championness of Rich Froning is even when he doesn't need to do well, he always puts it all out there. That's a true champion, that's a true athlete. And again, it doesn't matter if it's a skill event, a gymnastic type movement like the rings like this with the muscle up, or the handstands, or strength of lift. He is impeccable in his movements and is so strong and so powerful.
And when I watch him, you could not tell that he just went through another event, and he was through 10 events before that. He started on Wednesday. I mean, this guy, every time he gets on a barbell or the rings or whatever, regardless of how tired he is, it's near perfect every time. Josh Bridges is still in the lead here in the Cinco 2. The time to beat belongs to Lucas Parker, 6:42.6 seconds.
So even though Josh is in the lead right here, what's coming up for him is this bar. So guess what? Josh Bridges weighs 165 pounds. He now has to support his weight overhead, which is 165 pounds, all the way across the stadium. The lunge is not a difficult movement necessarily, but when you are supporting that weight, having to use your midline to support that weight, he just blasted his shoulders, and he's going to have to support all that overhead with the shoulders. It's an absolute obliteration on that joint.
Rich Froning was in a similar situation at the Central East Regional. Dan Bailey, with his very same bar and the very same loading, on a walking lunge, was out front of Froning. Froning tracked him down and then passed him and then set an event record.
He's so calm, so cool and collected. He just, you know, he never gets rattled at all. He's so mature when he's competing like this. He's just so much experience. But again, Josh Bridges is a fighter. I mean, for the size of this guy and the abilities that he has, it's just incredible.
The bar is down for Bridges. Rich Froning showing no signs of slowing down, and looks like he's going to overtake Bridges for the lead. And Rich Froning continues his march towards a third straight CrossFit Games championship. The bar down now for Froning, but he does have the lead.
Wow, Josh Bridges actually had to squat clean that to get it up overhead. They're making him step back, so they are really watching their feet. You need to be in a lunge the entire time. They're not going to let you shuffle your feet or get any extra movement. It has to be a lunge.
Bridges at the top of your screen. He is currently in first place. Rich Froning has an advantage. He's taller than Bridges. The bar down for Bridges. Rich Froning lunging his way towards the finish line, trying to lock up back-to-back first place finishes in the Cinco 1 and the Cinco 2, and his third straight CrossFit Games championship. The crowd on his feet as the champ chewing up ground. The finish line is within reach. A third straight title is within reach. $275,000 within reach for Rich Froning. And Rich Froning is the fittest man on the planet for the third straight year. Rich Froning, for the third time, the fittest man on the planet, embracing his wife and his father and the rest of the people here from CrossFit Mayhem in Cookeville, Tennessee. And Rich Froning just did that. He made it a three-peat.
How is that possible? It doesn't matter what is thrown at this guy. He is good at everything. And again, look at it. He doesn't even look tired right now. He has enough energy to jump up over the wall, high-five all his fans, and still come back
Jason Khalipa, the 2008 CrossFit Games champion, he will finish, and Khalipa will find himself back on the podium with a second-place finish. And this is what CrossFit is all about. The men you compete against very quickly become your biggest fans.
So right there, two guys from the same region, they do battle against each other all the time. Now I'm just going to go out and help better. This is how great this guy is. I mean, when you're this good, you really aren't threatened by anything. This sport is amazing. The way you are able to go around and cheer on everyone and coach everyone all the way through competition, it is out of control.
30 seconds to go before we hit the 7-minute time cap. Rich Froning cheering on his fellow competitors to try and complete this event inside the 7-minute time cap. And Froning and Khalipa, the two men that we saw compete against each other in one of the open workouts. They trained together for a little while. Yelling at Scott Pansy to not put the bar down. 6 seconds to go, 5 to go in the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games 2 and 1. The 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games are history, and Rich Froning has just made history once again.
We held 7 CrossFit Games. This man has won 3 of them. I give you the 2013 Reebok CrossFit Games champion, Rich Froning.
Rich Froning, 3 straight victories to close out his 3rd straight title. We'll hear from the champ when we return.